hybrid work cultures transform company operations, the need of the hour is to configure and deploy services that get the right technologies to the right people, no matter the distance. To empower efficiencies, companies like HP are not just creating solutions that enable productivity from anywhere, but are also leading enterprises into a new era of sustainable working.
Hello and welcome to HP and Microsoft present Master Reset the Future Workplace, partnered by BizAnekdotes and Times Now. The pandemic has completely disrupted traditional work culture in India, and enterprises are now having to create workplace solutions that are as physical as they are digital. But how does employee productivity and accountability measure up in a hybrid work environment? And how does one go about creating a hybrid work environment that encourages a spirit of collaboration and camaraderie without sacrificing on business objectives? Well, to tackle this very topic, I'm joined by a highly distinguished panel of subject matter experts. Please allow me to introduce our guests. We have with us Global Head of Technology Services at Tech Info Finance at Tata Consultancy Services, Vishwas Joshi. CIO of Ernst & Young, Salil Sood. Director Enterprise Sales, Services and Solutions, PC at HP India, Kavit Gupta. Vishwas, I'd love to kick off the conversation with you. So when the nationwide lockdown was instituted over 2 years ago, and your colleagues were looking to you for an immediate solution as to how to transition to a work from home setup, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, so I will roll back the years. I think December 19 is somewhere we started hearing about Corona in China and all that. Right. As we came to Jan and maybe Feb, we thought that it is coming closer to our home, and we should have, Feb 2020 is when we started thinking about what we can do if there are some locations which get isolated, which will get quarantined. By Feb 2020, we started looking at what kind of solutions we could devise, which will predominantly work for three things or have three things. One is security, obviously the data security of this device security and connectivity and all that. The customer connectivity, because we work for customers, all Fortune 500 customers we work for. So ensuring that those connectivities are maintained. Right. And by March, early March 2020, we were having solutions in place, devised, went through multiple discussions with CISO's organization, and we were ready for that. But we were not ready for the whole pandemic 100%. We were always thinking that 20%, 30% of the people would be asked to work from home. But 24th March 2020 was the paradigm shift. And that's where we were forced to go from maybe 20, 30% of the BCP to 100%. But I'm really glad that in 3 weeks' time, we were, by 24th March 2020, I think 85% of our organization was already work from home. And by end of March or early April, we were 100% work from home organization, which was 0% work from our organization in Feb 2020. So in 1 month's time or 3 weeks' time, actually, we moved from 0 to 100. The needle completely moved from one side to other side. So, right. So that I think I'm really proud to be part of that team to get it done.
And Salil, I'd love to bring you in now, building on some of Vishwas's experiences and observations. I think in the wake of the pandemic, business continuity and revenue generation perhaps emerged as top concerns alongside employee health and alongside employee safety. So at that time, did it seem that at an organizational level, a complete technology infrastructural overhaul was the only solution in the need of the hour?
Well, to address your question, Pooja, for a business which is more attuned to a typical working style, which is office-based, yes, there would perhaps be a need for a paradigm shift and a relook from top to bottom. Right. Specifically for EY, perhaps not. Given the nature of the business that we are in, we've always had a significant number of people working outside the office, be it at the client place, be it in transit or on similar lines. And therefore, we've always been geared up towards both of these work styles, that is to cater to people in the office as well as to cater to people who've been working remote. Both both at the end user level and at the corporate level. So we've got those facilities. We had those facilities in place historically.
Sure.
What did change for us is the skew of the distribution of traffic.
Right.
Earlier it was a 50-50 or 60-40. When it became a 0-100, that is when capacity augmentation was required on our edge networks. And fortunately, we could also do that, just like Vishwas's point, in a couple of weeks. So by end of March, we had already planned for it. And by middle of April, third week of April 2020, we could bring those upgrades into place. So there never really was a disruption of any sorts in the way that we worked.
Kavit, I want to take it to you then, because I'd love to understand how HP India took the pandemic in its stride. And as you were sort of building the foundation for a hybrid work model, what were the tools, what were the technologies, what were some of what we've now come to understand as post-pandemic best practices that truly came to your rescue in that regard?
Rightly mentioned, I think I cannot rest enough saying that what Salil said, what Vishwas said, and we as vendors, I mean, we were also not prepared, right? I mean, there's limited production, there's limited things that we plan. But what we realized is that during the pandemic, of course, and we had to continue to evolve. Now, what we are still hearing is that a lot of employees still wants to go for remote work options, right? A lot of leaders, a lot of companies are saying that they're designing their workspace, keeping in mind that hybrid workforce will be there. So in a nutshell, somewhere, I think hybrid workforce model is a true reality for the next couple of years. As an endpoint company, because we address all the users, all the employees of our customers' organizations, we have also transformed ourselves to be more endpoint services driven rather than just growing the device, right? So we now today have the endpoint services coupled with collaboration services, layered by a strong embedded security to the point that Vish was mentioning on security, supported by very strong telemetry data and insights to deliver a highly productive endpoint infra, end-to-end. In fact, our one cloud solution, which was an outcome of what we saw on the overall changes that saw last 1.5 to 2 years, people working from all over the place, working from home, working from holidays in some mountains or etc. Right? So this one cloud solution will serve as the backbone of the workforce offerings through rich, connected and endpoints and digital services. That digital services that we're talking today should include cloud-based endpoint manageability, digital employee experience, home connectivity insights, personalizations or persona-based stuff, right? So we are more relevant to the employees that we are talking to. Our major learning, though, I would say, is that we need to address the entire lifecycle management of the devices, starting from device provisioning, that it reaches the user. We manage the entire lifecycle of the device, be it being used at home or office, and the devices needs to be disposed of in a very sustainable way. Right. So end-to-end, that's the learning we would say that we've got, and we are kind of transforming, still pivoting ourselves towards that.
Well, if we're talking about learnings, then let's talk about employee learnings. And for that employee learnings bit, Vishwas, I come to you, because when you speak to your employees and, they now have fully embraced this secure hybrid work environment, this now more automated hybrid work environment, digitized, flexible, so on and so forth. When you speak to those employees, do they believe that all of this is just a knee-jerk reaction to the pandemic, or do they truly believe that this is here to stay? What's your experience been like?
I think the biggest transformation or technology transformation is because of the virus. So as a technologist, I would say that the positive side of this pandemic is that what we, looking for last 4 years, the business 4.0 and the automation and, virtualization that we saw, I think last 2 years we could achieve what we were trying to do last 4 years. So I think from that perspective, if I wear a technology hat, I think this is the biggest transformation that has happened in the last 2 years. And it's a learning. Everyone found out, every organization found out a way to work in a different fashion. What we thought is not possible, we saw that it is not just possible, but it also enhances the user experience. It enhances the employee experience, and it also helps organizations to grow. So there are different ways we all could find. I think those learnings are not going to go. I think the flexibility is going to stay. Now, that would be 20%, 30%, 100%. It depends on organization to organization. Like in Salil's case, they were already into hybrid mode because they had consultants who work with their customers. We were more in office kind of an organization, but obviously the needle has moved. And it will fall in between somewhere between 40 to 50 to 100, depending upon the business in which that person is. So the flexibility would remain. Obviously, there would be flexibility. We already have a stated objective of 25 by 25, which our CEO, Rajesh Gopinathan, always states about. We will reach there, but that's a journey. So flexibility is something which will be there. Collaboration would be there. But we see that pure virtual collaboration versus face-to-face, there are positives in both. But face-to-face, you cannot just negate. There has to be face-to-face conversation. And that's why hybrid is the way forward. That's the journey every organization, I think, today is taking. And we are in the same journey today. And the stated goal of 25 by 25 is where we want to reach to.
Salil, as Vishwas just alluded to, there is no substitute for face-to-face interaction, regardless of the sector or space. So as companies increasingly begin to embrace this hybrid work model, perhaps for the long term, what impact does that have on employee communication, collaboration, the spirit of camaraderie that they are to enjoy as co-workers and hopefully build on in terms of enhancing productivity?
Absolutely right about that. There is absolutely no substitute for face-to-face. And as a result of us being deprived of that, something that we used to take for granted, communication has become an even more critical element of the corporate strategy as a result of the pandemic. We find ourselves communicating much more now than we were doing earlier. And this nature of this communication is not only to be in touch with the existing workforce, but also we look to integrate the new joiners into the firm's value system. Earlier, you could always rely on people to travel or be available in the office or whatever.
Right.
Since that hasn't been really the norm for the last 24 months, and as my co-panelists have been saying, this is here to stay, we have actually moved to video in a very big way as a substitute for face-to-face over the last 2 years. And now with hybrid being opened up, we are upgrading all our collaboration spaces in the offices to make video an even more integral part of the overall meeting experience. And in a manner of speaking, we're looking to converge the physical with the virtual. The other part of the question was around accountability.
Right.
A very tricky one to answer. I really honestly don't see a discernible difference in accountability because of a lack of face-to-face communication. We firmly believe that people will continue to do their best as they were doing, irrespective of the circumstances that they find themselves in.
Kavit, coming to you now, because regardless of the age or the stage of the business, the customer is king. There's no denying that. So how has this hybrid work model influenced the customer journey? What are some of the elements that HP has embraced in terms of perhaps portfolio of products or platforms or underlying powering technology that has helped ensure a frictionless customer journey during these trying times?
See, first of all, Pooja, I would really congratulate, and it's really fascinating to see the way these organizations have transformed. Look at large two organizations representatives that we have, like TCS and EY. The way last 2 years we've seen, it's fascinating journey, technology adoptions. You see digital transformation adoptions, which people were thinking of last 5-6 years, but it's kind of zoomed in the last 2 years, and the video adoption Salil mentioned, right? So you're absolutely right. Customer is actually at the center of everything we do, by the way. Our business revolves around this, right? But in the hybrid workforce and workplace services, we actually are now helping customers empower their workforce to be more productive in a very secured way, in a more engaged way through data-driven workplace solutions. We just not simplify IT in a lot of ways because endpoints IT is a huge thing within the CIO's domain. But we also make sure that how do we optimize cash outflow while we're going through this journey and promote sustainability, which I think is one of the biggest charter a lot of people have, right?
Absolutely.
To start with, I think on our product portfolio itself, the focus more and more is on design and inbuilt security, so that we can have a very seamless end user experience. Right? In some industry, it is said to believe that 60% of the workforce may not even see office, or maybe once in a month. Right? Now, just come to think of it, that device, which is basically maybe a laptop or a video device, which Salil mentioned, becomes a very important interface between the company and the employee. The whole idea is that can we do more with these devices than just computing that we do for them? Just think of scenarios where people are not coming to offices. How do you feel that sense of being part of that company? How do you make sure that you imbibe that culture of that company? Right. It becomes difficult for an employee to own that particular, to be a part of that thing, right? So the point is that how do we do more and more and use this interface to bridge all these gaps? And that's what a charter now is, that we're going to work very closely with these customer organizations and see that what is the new application, what is the step that we need to build to make sure that we kind of address that. But just last point here is that endpoints relevance, I think, continues to grow here. And wrapping that around the experience services, be it on metaverse kind of platforms, AI or cloud applications, or any other platform, right? It will be critical for companies like us to innovate and ensure that we can bring all this together for delivering great experience with our customer and employees.
By way of closing comments, I pose my question to all three of you, and I'll start with you, Vishwas, because all three of your organizations have experienced a wave of expansion, over the course of this pandemic, and that has not gone unnoticed. So, to what extent do you sort of accredit that to your willingness as an organization to embrace new age workplace design, or revisit or reimagine your approach to workspace design and workplace design? I'll start with you, Vishwas, and then Salil and Kavit, I'd love your remarks as well. Vishwas.
I think it's a very oft-repeated cliche. I would start with the change is constant. So I think change, adaptability is a must. And we all showed that whatever was the size of the organization, everybody adopted to the life-changing event, that once in a millennial event that we had 2 years back. So I think you have to change or you perish. I think it is very, very clear that adaptability has to be there. And obviously, generally, organizations, and bigger the organization, they look at the incremental changes. But sometimes you are pushed to do a rapid change while the engine is on. And I always take that example that you have to change an engine of an airplane which is in flight. And we all did that without or ensuring that the plane doesn't crash, right? So I think that is the kind of adaptability everybody showed. And this is still a learning, right? It's a 3 pivots that we have today. One is customer, one is employee, third is regulations. And these 3 pivots, every organization will look at how we will find the best possible solution for that organization. It will depend on organization to organization. But these are the 3 pivots that we see how the hybrid workspace would evolve eventually. And that would be a different solution for each organization. But everybody would discover that over a period of time. And that's what I feel. But adaptability, whatever is thrown at you, adaptability is the king. There's no other solution for that.
Salil, what's your take?
Yeah, we are very, very clear. There is going to be change, and there is going to be change at a furious pace. What works today may not work tomorrow. Therefore, we are listening very actively to our people and responding appropriately. We're trying to embed technology into all of our offerings and trying to make solutions as flexible as possible so that we can change. And not only by embedding technology, but also, let me illustrate with an example. Now that we are all in the hybrid working world, so people are required to book their seats when they are wanting to come into the office. We found that people are not very satisfied when a randomly allocated desk is given to them.
Right.
What we did was we digitalized our building plans and put them on the office booking platform so that people can actually have a look at the desk that they want to sit at, near a window, for example, or near a printer if there's a lot of documents that they want to print, or on a particular floor, or near the cafeteria or whatever. And say that here you are, you asked for it, and this is what we're going to give to you. So this is the nature of the change that we find ourselves faced with, and this is the nature of the change that we are actually looking to cater for. Ever changing, and whatever keeps our people happy.
All right. Well, Kavit, your fellow panelists have certainly reminded us of or embraced the analogy of an airplane here in terms of changing an engine mid-flight or having to reserve your seat in advance, which very much sounds like a web check-in. So I'll give you the last word and I look forward to your airplane analogy. Kavit.
While the ship or the plane is going faster, I think companies like us, HP, has to go even faster so that we can predict that change and make sure we address that change that already our customers are embarked on. And the workspace, I would say, and then just coming, I strongly echo what Salil said, that, right? I mean, you give whatever the employees want, because millennials, let's say, I'm just trying to connect a lot of dots that we spoke. Let's say millennials you want them to come to office. So the office, the workplace needs to be really techy, it needs to be plug and play in a lot of ways, etc. Right? That's how you're going to invite a lot of things. And a few things that we are, of course, doing is that there are two motions for this, right? One is a strong workplace, which is tech-enabled, people wants to come and work there. Second is irrespective. They don't come, they work from anywhere, productivity needs to be the underlying factor. So we are trying to address the productivity piece very strongly. And as a company, we are staying invested in terms of design, ruggedness of the products, etc., that we give, end-to-end services. So the CIO's office is not bothered about bits and pieces and make sure to get everything together. Some basic things like, let's say, a lot of accessories, so that when an employee is joining, there has to be just a plug and play setup. So we're making sure that accessories that gets bundled in, right? So that, I mean, all the complexities and deliveries and customization that is required can be brought in one place. So we have a lot of responsibility as a company, and I'm sure both Salil and Vishwas appreciate a bit of work that we do with them. But we will make sure that we continuously evolve ourselves, change ourselves to make sure that we address the workplace requirements and we continue to add value to the businesses.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, I have to thank you for sharing such a rich range of insights, that I think overlapped between your personal and your professional journeys. We truly found them of value. And with that, our special feature, HP and Microsoft present Master Reset, the Future of Workplace, partnered by Times Now and BizAnekdotes, comes to a close. Thanks for watching.